Hello, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Injury Time, your one stop shop for everything on Indian football. Well, the past few weeks, there's lots that happened on Indian football. The clubs have been going rampant with signings for the new season. Coaches have quit. A coach has been granted extension. There's been talk about what the new season will look like, when the league will start, how will it shape, and where will it be played, and a lot of news coming out. So we thought, why not just get all of our guys together and just try to address a few questions that you guys, you listeners, have been posting us on our social media handles. So that's the whole agenda of today's episode, to look at everything that's happened in Indian football over the course of past few weeks and try to figure out where we are headed. So to talk about this and to give us more insights on things that have been happening, we've been joined by two guys who've been following Indian football for a very long time and very closely. Familiar faces. You've been on the show, you know these guys. One is Sandeep, another is Pilarma, and just get them on board. Hey, Sandeep.
Hello.
Hi, and hey, Pilarima, how are you? And welcome to Injury
Hi,
Time.
hi. Thank you. It's my debut here, so really
Yes, you
excited.
are excited
Long
for your
time
debut,
coming.
right?
Yep,
All
very,
right,
very excited.
guys. Like I was telling our listeners a while back, a lot has happened over the past few weeks, right? A coach stepped down from a role, another coach was granted extension. There was news coming out on one league being about to start in November, and the news about another league which was completely postponed because of monsoon and the predicted third wave of COVID. So there's a lot happening, and everything that all of this in the backdrop that India will be hosting the Asian Cup in 2022. Well, Philarma, let's just begin with that, right? First up, Indian Women's League. We've expected the season to happen at least this time around, given that the Asian Cup is there in the first half of next year. But the news that came in is that there's no IWL. The team will be more or less going blank into that continental competition. How do you look at this?
As a fan or as a follower of women's football, it's really upsetting to hear this because there's been no domestic football for the past 30 months or so. So this is really disappointing, and the fact that we're hosting the Asian Cup in less than 6 months, it's not going to help us as such. So it's really disappointing.
Well,
And the
Sandeep,
fact that the
go on.
and the fact that they're using COVID as an excuse while they have all the other I-League qualifiers happening is it's really embarrassing, I would say, for the AFF. The fact that the league is just what 3 weeks. It's a 3-week league as it is. So yeah. So it really questions the ability of the AFF to actually host the AFC Asian Cup with all the other teams, the international teams, when they can't even host their own domestic league. Yeah.
Well, Sandeep, before I come to you, Abresh Mina has joined us. Hey, Abresh Mina.
Hello. I am so
Hi.
sorry.
First
I
up,
was
Eid
trying
Mubarak.
to.
I hope you had a great time with your family.
Yeah, I did. I'm in my hometown, so yeah, that helped.
That's awesome. Great. Abhishmina, we just kicked off a conversation, and first up, we thought of discussing the IWL women's football on the
Yeah.
backdrop that India will be hosting the Asian Cup in January and February of next year. There's no competition. The players will be walking blank into the competition, the continental event. How do you look at this?
Yeah, of course, it's embarrassing. Yeah, it's like it's that's the term. It's as simple as the fact that it's quite embarrassing that the federation can hold the I League qualifiers last year, the whole of the I League, but IWL is like what, like 23, 24 days tournament, and I mean, it's just really weird to think that you can't create a bio bubble for a 23, 24-day tournament, but you can do that for a 3-month tournament. I mean, like that doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So yeah, it does put the AIFF in a very bad light, I would say. because I mean, when you say that you're going ahead, you are trying to help women's football come up in the country and stuff like that. You're working for women's football in the country, and then you pick up the hosting rights of two big tournaments, but then you don't have anything going on domestic, and you can sort of do that. It's not like they can't do that. So I mean, it just looks very weird, especially with two big tournaments coming in. I mean, at least the AFC and FIFA would have their eyes on the country, right? So I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, Sandeep, the last edition of the IW happened in Bangalore in 2019. You were there covering that event. What are your memories from that? Like, how good was the competition, and what were your takeaways from the 2019 edition of the competition?
The competition, I enjoyed covering it. But then you know me, I like to not stay in office as much as possible. But generally, yeah, I mean, there were some really good teams. Some of them were not that great, but that's the case in all competitions, I feel. But there were good teams. I mean, the final was well contested. The final had a lot of people. Uh, the way that there were some teams who you knew had played a long time with each other. Like Gokulam won the title, but they were sort of like an all stars sort of a team put together. Not even an all star team, sort of put together in for the tournament as such. But the other one, like Ripsa and all, looked great. So I personally really enjoyed it. I thought women's football was going on and up. I personally have to also own up to the fact that I hadn't been following a lot of women's football up until say a year and a half or so. So yeah, made converted me quite frankly from the previous IWL, but having watched this from the stadium, I thought it was really really interesting. But a little sad that it's not happening this time. But if I'm honest, I didn't think it would happen the way the things were going with the AFF and their priority list. It's probably way down.
Well, we'll address that priority list in a while, but Felerima, let me ask you this. The national team is heading into a competition, the continental showpiece for women's football in Asia, right? And there's no match practice or say a avenue for the management to choose its players from because the domestic league is meant for that. Now, if you don't have this domestic league, where are these players coming from now?
I think everybody's still asking the same question. Nobody knows, but I think considering the friendlies, they're going to consider the players from the friendlies that happened in April, and I think they're also going to look at Gokulam's performance in the AFC Club Championship. So that's it. I mean, there's nothing else other than that.
Well, that about the players, Abresh Mina, but coach Memol Rocky stepped down from her position. The team is in a disarray, to say the least. Players, you don't know who the players are now. You don't know who the coach is who will be leading this team into the Asian Cup. Are there any answers for all these problems that the women's national team is facing?
No, I mean, not really. And the whole problem is if you try and get answers, it you're made to go round and round over the same thing, and then you reach no conclusion, and it's all like a thread. It just keeps going on and on and on. So it's like yeah, it's really. I mean, I feel it's really difficult. I am like probably one of those people who wanted Memol to come up with better tactics and everything for the national team. But given that we have a continental competition to go to, and with no match practice, I'm not sure how the new coach is going to take the team forward. I mean, the new coach would hardly know much about the players. The training doesn't tell you everything. It has to be about match practice. So it just puts the players and the coach that is about to come in a very precarious situation. I mean, they won't know what to do with the,
Right.
it'll be become very participatory. Like it was already going to be very very difficult given our standing in Asia, but this just makes it worse, I feel.
Well, Sandeep, if you have to compare this to what the men's team went through, say first the under 17 World Cup, you had the entire bunch that went on a number of exposure tours to prepare for that three matches that they played at the under 17 World Cup. Then you had the senior team that went to the Asian Cup. There was a lengthy preparation after their qualification as well, where they played a lot of friendlies. They played China away, they played Jordan away. Then there was a lot of preparation that went into sending this team to UAE for the Asian Cup. Now you have the national women's team of the country playing at home at the Continental Showpiece, but the team looks in disarray. The federation barely has any answers to how to go about shaping this team. Yes, India has proved its bit when it comes to organizing big ticket events, but what about preparing a team for this big ticket event?
I mean, we can't have unnecessary exposure tours during pandemic, right? So that would be one thing they would say. But generally, looking at it, look at the women's under 17 World Cup squad also. There, that's been deferred. I don't know how they managed to find that team. The players were selected. Some of them have subsequently played in the Bangalore League. I saw some of
Right.
them, some from the Northeast, good players. I don't know what went into picking these players. Now, what happens now? Where do you find the next batch? For these guys have, I don't like, aged out. So where do you find the next batch? There is no tournaments. There is nothing. National team. I mean, Abdeshman and I were talking about the last time they played the national team, and they played Uzbekistan and another team, Belarus, I think.
Belarus.
Yeah, and that time also we were saying it's very what do you call? Yeah, we're playing analog in a digital world. So that's the kind of football that we are trying to play. And then we'll have one free kick goal and everybody goes gaga. But the whole 89 minutes, 30 seconds before and after that, we have to see also how they're going. India still push and run. I mean, it's fine. If you have the players to do that, you have quick players and stuff like that. So I agree with Abresh Mina. I didn't particularly think Maimol Roki was all that tactically astute. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what you were asking.
That's not the first time that's happened with
Yeah.
you.
True, true.
So
It
Sandeep.
does happen. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I do agree, right? Because they will just now my fear is they will find the under 17 coach, the under 17 coach Thomas Denerby, I think his name is. They will
Hmm.
somehow ask him to take over this as well. A lot of the under 17 girls who he may have identified for the first round will come. He will fill it up with the other known in Indian national names and
Like,
then put a
where
team
is
out.
he identifying these players from? Because there's no
No, the
competition.
already under and they already picked some for the under 17, right? And
But
then they have
what
the national
didn't
campus.
those
They will
guys
have
like go over the age bracket when the
no, no,
competition?
for the Asian Cup.
All
For
right,
the Asian
okay.
Yeah, they'll bring some of them. They'll have the established stars. They'll put them have a big camp in some northeast Europe, I mean, Eastern European country, or maybe in Delhi or something, Bombay. And
And like
then
Eastern European, and then you come to Delhi.
that's India. That's India's zone of terror, where they go there and play games, and then come to India and play games. So yeah, they'll do something like this, and then all as it is, we always only talk about how well we organized,
Yeah,
not
we are
how
all
well we
about
play.
organizing competitions. That's
Yeah.
about it.
So
Well,
they'll do some jugaad and do it. Like it's
that's
very very
that's our way of doing it, Jugaad.
very AFF.
Well, Filipina,
I just feel that's really like I don't know. It just feels very short-term vision, organizing big events and thinking that it'll do everything for the game in the country. That's just really short-sightedness. I just feel like that. Yeah.
but that's been the case with AIFF, right? They are all concentrated on hosting events so that the team gets to play, not that letting the team qualify for a competition, right?
Yeah,
That's so.
you need a huge plan for that. No, that is the
Oh,
difficult
there's a
part.
huge plan. It's called Lakshya plan. Okay. Which never sees the day of light. Well,
Yeah.
Filrima, before we move on to the next topic, when we move to the men's team and how they're going about, one thing I wanted to know from you is, yes, Sandeep spoke about established stars. There are two that I recall. One is Bala Devi, who is in Scotland, another is Dalima Chibar, who's in Canada pursuing her higher education. Do you see these guys also coming back, joining the team? Bala Devi for sure, but what about Dalima, who's in Canada now?
Uh, I mean, I think Delima is here in India right now. So,
All right.
so there's a higher probability that she's probably joining the. I think I've been hearing that they're having a national camp next month.
Okay.
So maybe she'll be joining the national camp month. So I mean, it'll be very interesting to see the list of players who will be joining the national camp. I think by then we'll have an idea who will be playing.
Well, I think more than the players, I'll be interested to see who the coach of that at the national campus.
Yeah, same.
Well, guys,
Can
from
I
one
can I
question,
ask? No, no, I just want to ask
go on.
both Filarima and Abresh Mina this. Like all the IWLs that you guys have seen and things like that. How does it feel? You guys follow Indian women's football more than most people that I know, almost, everybody that I know. So how does it feel like, when such a short tournament that could be easily organized, they skip over it because you have to look at the fact that Gokulam will now go and play the represent India. And Gokulam, who does not really have a team also at the moment, I think. They put together a team for that. And then after that, I don't know how many of them are still on contract. So they will have to go running around and finding. I know for a fact that thinking of IWL, they were reaching out to a few clubs in Bangalore to see if their players can be, loaned out or signed for the tournament. So how does it like? I mean, AFF generally there's no organization. How does it feel like into the going into women's football? Like there's absolutely zero, or do you think we are slowly moving in the right direction?
Villa, go first.
Either.
Yeah. So for me, I don't think we're going in the right direction or even near there. It is, I mean, we were like expecting a lot for this, for the fifth season of IWL because there are going to be a lot more teams, new teams. And so we were like expecting a lot. But then now since there's like nothing happening, there's no IWL, there's nothing to look forward to. And as a fan, it's like you don't even want the Asian Cup. Personally, for me, I don't even want it to happen because I know what it's going to be like. I'm like mentally preparing myself for the disappointment and the embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's like for IWL, for IWL, it's like, I'm sorry. I like I mentioned, I am in my hometown, so you have to excuse me for that. So yeah, no. Usually
Just
with
a
the IWL,
homely atmosphere here, okay?
yeah. What with IWL, what we've seen is there has definitely been a betterment in terms of, say, the game or the development of the girls. Because they still had at least two competitions, that is the national championships and the IWL in senior division, that is, to look forward to. So that has definitely made sure that there is some sort of development in terms of the games, but overall in terms of organization and everything, everyone's just lacking. The whole point, like what we keep mentioning, like there's no real planning. There's a serious lack of planning. So what makes it like, they say that we are going to have a longer league, but then you don't let the state associations know about it. You don't have a proper plan where stations can go ahead, organize their leagues, and have that sort of platform for you to have a longer league. It has to be a systematic development if you want to increase the number of teams and if you want to have a longer league. It can't be like just one season before you say you are having it with just 10 teams, and then you go on and say that we'll have it with 15 teams. And then it's like, the last time I heard, they were like, if Odisha does not is not able to organize, if it doesn't open up for sports, we'll probably go to Bangalore if they can hold it. But then again, it's like, it's done. It's done, right? I mean, they're not going to do it. So it's just very disappointing.
But guys, when this is the case, then won't the question pop up that why have an IWL? Because before this, you had a national championships, which was more or less held every year, and you had teams come out and play, and that from there, where your national team came from. Anyone?
Hmm?
I think we are having trouble
Can-
with Abreshmila. Abreshmila, my question basically was
Yeah.
if there's so many troubles when it comes to getting teams together for the IWL and organizing it, and you're so dependent, say, on one association. Right now, it's the Odisha Association that you're dependent on, and if not that, you move to Bangalore, and if not that, you don't have an answer. Why have an IWL? Before that, you had the national championships, and your national team was based on that. What gave way to IWL, and still we have so many problems.
uh, ISL came. It was like, oh, people are watching it. Every interest is back in Indian football. So we just need to replicate that sort of thing in women's football also, to show that we are trying to move ahead or develop women's football. That's it.
In other terms, lack of foresight.
Yeah, exactly. Short term vision, na short term vision.
All right, great. Well,
How long?
Philip,
How long before we qualify for the World Cup, though? It's very
Nice question.
important question.
We'll just host in the World Cup, so that's it.
I think
Yeah,
that's the case
as
with both
soon as we
men
can
and women
host
cup.
one, as soon
Okay.
as we can host one, we will be participating in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the closest we are coming.
Yes, for sure.
Well, guys, that's about the women's national team and the head coach and the upcoming Asian Cup. Philorima, Sandeep tells me that you have to go. You have other engagements that
Yeah.
keeps you busy. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show and
Bye.
sharing your insights
It's
on
nice to be here.
women's football. We hope to see you soon. Talk more about women's football and Indian football at large.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, it's really nice to be here. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Right.
Well, guys, moving on. Up next, the men's team, the national men's team of the country, Igor Stimac was handed a contract extension. He will be India's coach till the September of 2022. First up, your reaction, Sandeep. We've spoken about this in the past, and this was more or less expected, right?
Yeah. Maybe he was. I was slightly. There were some people who did say that there might be some, problem as such, but by and large, it felt like this was a done deal. I think Jaideep Basu wrote an article the other day where they said that the decision had already been made. This was just to, to show that they did their due diligence, that sort of a thing. So yeah, very expected lines. I'm sort of okay with it because I feel like you should give him the full term and then judge him if he can or cannot. If he does qualify for the Asian Cup, go ahead, play the Asian Cup as well, finish that whole cycle. If he doesn't, then we'll take it from there. However, the federation decides.
Well, Abreshmina, when Stimac was named the coach, the primary target was to qualify for the Asian Cup, and India is still on the path of qualifying for the Asian Cup. But we've been speaking about this, where we say that for this Indian team, qualifying for Asian Cup should be the bare minimum, shouldn't be the goal that you aspire towards. Now, with that in mind, what is that this team should aim for in the coming few years under Igor Stimac?
Um, I don't know if we will stay under Igor's match for long, but the thing is, what I feel with the team, it has to be that you have to, strive to get into the top 10 in Asia first, because there is no way around it. It has to be a hard slog, and you've got to see and be consistently in the top 10 of Asia, and only from there on you can try and get through into you can try and get through to I'm so sorry, guys. You only from there. I'm really sorry. If we don't stay consistently in the top 10 in Asia, there is no way that we are going to get any better and have any hopes of, being one of the best in Asia, or being the best in Asia, and then go on and take on the world. So yeah, I do feel like, yeah, I do understand that we, as a country where we talk about that football is the second sport and stuff like that, we need to be the Asian Cup is the minimum you need to do. But given the way we have played so far and given trajectory so far, I feel what we need to do first is keep qualifying for Asian Cup, be in strive to be in the top 10 of Asia, and then see where it takes us from there.
Well, Sandeep, you were part of that interaction with Sandesh Jingan yesterday, if I'm not wrong, after he
Yes.
was named the AIFF Player of the Year. What was his opinion? Like, how is the team looking at Steamage getting an extension?
He said it's not my department. When we asked about his thing, he said that's up to the federation and the technical committee and all to decide. So he said it's not my department. But generally, he's like there is desire, there is drive, there is passion. We want to qualify for Asian Cup and things like that, which is what I think any player in the national team would say, because you're not going to say anything else. But essentially, if you look at it now, look, the next round is going to be a little harder, I think, considering
Right.
the pools below us also
Correct.
have good teams, and this is a team that's basically struggled and against Afghanistan and Bangladesh, who we may look at as maybe not the best team, dismissive and things like that. When initially when we got the list,
Right.
right? So imagine now going Kuwait is I think below us in the pool.
Correct.
Imagine getting Kuwait as one of the teams. That's a major problem because they are a very good team who are just below in the ranking because they haven't played in a long time.
Right.
Same with all these Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. None of these are easy games. So if you have struggled here, I mean, it's going to be harder. So I don't know what you have to do. Whether you change your style of play. I mean, I was talking to somebody recently who works for the one of the associations, the state associations, and he was saying how important it is for the national team to have a good time or enjoy a good successful period for the culture of football to pick up in India, or even at least for next generation to aspire to. So if you look at the '83 World Cup, you look at it as a watershed moment for cricket. Although we
Right.
played before, also that is what pushed them out, all over the place, like blew up the game. So the same thing, not at that level, of course, but India needs something like that. Like we did well in the Asian Cup last time, need to ensure that you qualify there. So it's baby step, it's incremental growth. Like people, when we talk about qualifying for World Cup, we look at it saying, okay, that's jumping 100 steps. It's like when an athlete cuts half a second in 100 meters. That's a lot of time when you run for
Right.
only 9 seconds, 10 seconds. So it's the same kind of a thing. Incremental growth is what we should look at, and we should ensure that that happens. Whether that happens in a style of play that you want to play attractive football and win, or just win, it's
But
irrelevant. Right? The national team has to win. That's only
absolutely.
going to help. So look at
Absolutely.
Vietnam and all these other smaller nations who are successfully building good teams. At some point, we have to look at ourselves and look at the number of TDs we had. How many? Six in the last less than 10
More or
years.
less.
Yeah, Robert Ban.
Well,
Yeah, I think around six. Yeah. Where are you, what is happening? How many coaches have we had in the same time? Three.
but
So
coaches
when
is
was the
something
last?
that people keep on giving extensions. As TD is the first one who's next on the line.
Yeah, yeah, but then you have no vision, right? So you went from Wim Koormans, you went from Arman, then there was Houghton Arman, then there was Wim Koormans, who wanted to play a different side of football, then went back to Constantine, who plays the opposite side of football. Then you got this coach who in the last interaction we had said that he was brought in to play a certain style of football. So
Correct.
in that, I have sympathy to him. Like he was asked to perform in a certain way, and he was trying to do that. But at the same time, our guys should have a foresight, as we keep using it in this episode, to know
But
where we stand and how we
let
can
me
win.
ask you guys something about this. You spoke about national team. Winning is what matters, right? Especially for the national team. It's if you doesn't matter if you play beautiful football if you can't win the match. Abresh Meena, where do you draw this? Where how do you find this balance between playing attractive football and winning? Because what really worked for Constantine in the past was that that man could deliver results. He eventually took this team to the Asian Cup, and mind you, when Constantine took over, the national team was not in the state in which it was when Stimac took over. So it was completely different scenario.
I honestly feel that you have to, like I've always been saying, there is a set style of play that national team can depend on. To be very honest, which is trying to defend deep and go on the counter attack. Because as a team, that is the set of players that we have. That is the style of play that the set of players currently can execute. So I feel you already have the style of play and you should look to get results instead of trying to change that style of football. I mean, I don't understand why the Spanish style of football is the only attractive sort of football. I don't get it. Like, I don't feel. I mean, you watched Italy in Euro. I mean, did they keep the ball like with them the whole time? No, they just placed fast-paced game, right? So every nation can have that sort of identity. I mean, we knew Italy for defense, but it's only because of Mancini and the current crop of players that he was able to execute a different style of play. So you have to depend on what set of players you have, and then see how you can execute. And I think we already have the style of play, and we should go for results. I mean, there's no it doesn't make sense like trying to play the tiki taka style of football. We can't. Yeah. It's just like, why not accept it? We can't do that at the moment.
Well, Sandeep,
I'm going to blame Spain for this because they
The
just played out
2010
of the
World Cup win.
yeah 2008, 10, 12. No, they
yeah,
smashed
Yeah,
everything.
you also 2012
Yeah.
and 8 Euros.
So everybody is like, this is the way to play. But if you look at Spain, that team largely from Barcelona and Real Madrid,
right.
they
Yeah,
Barcelona plays tiki taka. Real Madrid does
exactly.
not play tiki taka. The other teams in Granada does not play tiki taka, or the Bilbao doesn't play. They are all old, long standing. They play different types, and that one team was exceptional because that generation of talent who came through was exceptional.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They did well in under 17s, under 20s. So there was a build up, and then they burst into the international scene and did what they did. All
That's
went on to
something
win
that
champions.
England is trying now with this current crop of
Yeah.
players.
So you
Yeah.
knew this team is coming, right? For a long time, you knew. And Italy, I thought maybe next time they would do well because I felt like this team was quite inexperienced at the start. But kudos to them. So we just sit here and our generation of players now is better, maybe technically. But how much superior are we talking about here when you play against a Qatar who is going to basically when they played the second leg they were chumma hitting shots here and there. Okay, if they really wanted to win the game, they would have taken it a little more seriously. I felt because they were just
Right.
mucking about. That guy left back was just smashing ball from here and there. I think he
Well, he
wanted to
made
score like the goal of the
Indians
year or
look
something.
like heroes. Okay,
Yeah, so against 10 man, right? So,
correct.
and how did you perform there? You sat back. So you got a 1-0 result, you got a nil-nil result away.
Well, that is something that I was also coming to. Like when Stimac began his tenure with the national team, he tried to bring in this beautiful style of football, creative, attractive style of football. But when it actually mattered, the last two matches against Afghanistan and Bangladesh, we were back to what the Indian team that we used to seeing. It was not about going and like doing things that you usually don't tend to see from the national team. It was about sitting back and hitting on the counter. So even do you think that Stimac has eventually realized that this is the best way to get results with this team?
Sort of,
Oh,
maybe. But I don't think he is going to stick with it. He would still want to show because I just feel like he keeps on saying that he was brought to change the style of play and make it more attractive and all of that. So I think he. I don't know if AIFF told him that we need a new style of play and that is why we're getting you and stuff like that.
that's what he
But
said.
yeah, that is what he said exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they are going to stick with that. It was just that at that point of time probably it was the need of the hour because we desperately needed results, so he went back to how we know how to play. But I still think he's going to keep experimenting and with the style of play. I mean, maybe not with players as much, but with a style of play I'm pretty sure he's still going to try and bring the attacking football.
Well, guys, the coach is locked in for say till September 2022. But what about the players? The league ISL is expected to start in November of this year. Again, to be played behind closed doors inside a bio bubble in Goa. How do you look at this season, Hannah? How important will this season be, especially given that it will be during the fag end of the season that you'll have the first initial bunch of matches for the Asian Cup qualifiers?
Oh, yeah, the season will be ending by the February, right?
No, March, April, right?
Come on, man. March is for the teams who qualified for the knockouts. Most of
Usually,
the
those
other
are the
teams.
players that make the national team.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's also true. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
Question is, how important is this season, given that the national team is playing the Asian Cup qualifiers?
I don't think it's particularly more important or less important than any other season. They just have to play. It's another season inside the bio bubble. I'm sort of looking forward to how the teams are going to shape up because I think this year will be quite interesting. In a larger scheme of things, I think a lot of teams will be stronger. A lot of the weaker teams that we thought are probably going to be a little stronger. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it as a spectacle. Like honestly, at this point, we sort of know the starting lineup for the national team. Not too
Yeah,
much is going to change in that. So we just
exactly.
need to ensure they keep playing well and are not injured. So that's going to be a challenge.
Do you guys see the national team play a few friendlies before the Asian
They
Cup
are
qualifiers?
they're trying to get some in September. This is what I heard.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll do
Maybe,
that. They would
yeah.
need to do some sort of, you
So
know,
I think if I
match
remember
fixes.
correctly, yeah, if I remember correctly, I think they play in September in the FIFA window. They'll try to do something in October or have a national camp in October, and then move on to the ISL, and then like that.
But an October national camp is practical given that teams usually have their preseasons during that time.
I don't know. These are the things that I heard. I mean, I think Stimac said, at least this is what I remember. Or maybe I'm
Okay.
wrong. But yeah, I mean, teams starting. I think some of them are starting. I think Goa is starting end of this month. Um, who else is starting? BFC's already started theirs.
Yeah, they
ATK
have
is
their
also
AFC Cup
Mohun Bagan.
coming.
Yeah, Mohun Bagan is also starting theirs. So Kerala Blasters is also starting theirs at the end of this month. So quite a few of them are doing a good job starting there. I don't know why they started so early. Some of them going for Durand Cup. So maybe that's why.
Could be, could be. Right. Guys, talking about the clubs, AFC Cup is finally happening, hopefully in August. If no more COVID cases come up, no more protocol violations come up when you're actually in Maldives. First up, BFC will play Club Eagles in the playoff match on the 15th of August. And the following week will be the Group D encounters, which feature ATK Mohun Bagan, Mazia from Maldives, then Basundhara Kings from Bangladesh, and the winner of the match between Bengaluru FC and Club Eagles. First up, Abresh Mina, your thoughts on Group D and what to expect from this?
I don't think it changes much in terms of what we were expecting if the games would have happened earlier. I don't think changes much. Maybe it's even better for BFC because they would get more time with the coach. I mean, at that point of time, the coach was just coming in, so probably it was like they were still trying to figure out what worked for them and stuff like that. Probably this time around it'll be they'll have more time with the coach, so it'll be kind of helpful for Bengaluru FC. But it's still going to be tough, I feel. I mean, I always feel like for every Indian club, every match is going to be difficult only.
All right, that's the skeptic in him talking. Sandeep, Bengaluru have brought in a few new players. Alan Costa from
Mm.
Brazil, then King is one of their players, and Jayesh Nani, the latest transfer this time around. Sarto Gulu is another player that Bengaluru FC have signed. How do you see this team shape up this coming season?
They signed Prince Ibarra as well, who is a striker. So I don't know who are the four they'll pick. I think Eric obviously is one of them,
Right,
being Asian. So the rest of the three we have to see. But okay, everything I've heard about that team from people in the team and some people outside the team, like when they played and stuff like that, is that it's very high intensity. The new coach demands a lot of intensity, and the way they play, we saw a little bit of that in the game that they played. The first preliminary round of
right,
the AFC
right.
Cup. So it's interesting. We'll have to see if the players. The important thing is, can the players adapt to that? Because they went from a style which is sort of sit back, counter attack, to another one that like you know, that's really pushing for it.
Okay,
So and full energy, full intensity, 90 minutes. So if they can sustain for 90 minutes, that'll be a great watch, not just for the AFC Cup, but also for the ISL. We just have to see how the players are able to adapt to it because they initially had a lot of trouble uh, getting used to it. Not because they are unfit or anything; it's just such a drastic change. But
right.
surely, but slowly but surely, they are they are
They
getting
are on
used
the
to
track.
that, and yeah, they're on the track. So I'm very excited to see what BFC is like because they also lost their defensive mainstay, right?
Right,
Yunan,
right. One.
Cabra, another senior player, they've lost all of them. So how are the new ones going to come in? How are they going to adjust? So it'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. I really like Jayesh Rane as a signing. 3-year
Right.
deal also. It's a long contract. So obviously they have faith in him. I hope he is a runner, right? He can do it. He can run around in midfield. And with four foreigners next year, you need probably an extra midfielder more than anything else. So
Okay.
hopefully this will be an interesting time for them. I'm looking forward. I feel like they will be one of the teams to watch in the ISL along with Goa and Odisha.
Okay, all right. Abresh Meena, ADK Mohan Bagan too have been no quite spectators in the transfer market. Some big signings. One from the Euro, or you had the Finnish guy Johnny Coco, if I'm not wrong, that's his name. And then Ugo Bumu has joined ATK from Mumbai City FC. what do you make of these signings? And this team was
Amrinder,
Amrinder is another big
huh?
signing. Yes. What do you make of this team? ATK Mohan Bagan was a strong team last season. Slightly
Yeah,
missed out on winning that title, following that loss to Mumbai in the final of the ISL. They're
yes.
coming back with a point to prove, are they?
I think they took it to heart, yeah. Went all out scooping players out of Mumbai City FC. Like, you beat us and we'll take everyone who was in your team and all that. So it
You
was,
take the coach also.
yeah, it's
For all you know.
it was pretty cool. Yeah, especially the transfer of Bumu was pretty insane. Like, I mean, of course, we had it like we did see that it was going to happen and stuff like that. But I mean, when it happened, it was still really cool to just see. I mean, Bumu had just moved to Mumbai City SC from Goa for a huge amount of fee, and then he then goes to ATK Mohan Bagan with for definitely for like a uh, bigger fee than what he was earning at MCFC. So yeah, it was. I really think that ATK Mohan Bagan is going for the title. Like, we just want to win it. That is what is in their head, I feel. I mean, they
Just not the
wanted
title,
it
they're going for
last
the
season
double.
also. Yeah, they wanted it last season also, but they just fell short. I think I also feel like, yeah, the luck was with Lobera last season. So yeah,
Yeah, all the City Group luck that comes along, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted Shlok on this show
But
to
like
counter you, but
what?
he's not here.
But
Uh,
what salary cap? Huh? Like,
What salary cap?
what salary cap?
yeah, exactly. I mean, this transfer fee records being broken. I don't know where that salary cap thing is working.
I think salary cap and all. Just take it off. No, we all know everybody is lying. So just take it off
Exactly.
now.
Exactly.
Well, one group of supporters who are not lying are the East Bengal supporters who were out there yesterday protesting against their club and things that the club are doing. Can someone give me a rundown on what exactly is happening with East Bengal? East Bengal, the management decided against signing a contract with Shri Cements. If I get it correct.
I think Shri Cement said that we won't do it. Like, I think they stepped back and said that they want, if they are to get the sporting rights back, they are supposed to pay them back and stuff like that.
And
But
the protesters
it's
are out there,
the
the fans are out on the streets. Got lathi charge yesterday. That was really sad to see.
but isn't the club who said they didn't want to sign the original agreed upon document in the beginning? The club
Yeah,
management, right?
they did.
Yeah.
But that is why Shri Cement said that if you want to get the sporting rights back, you'll have to
Hmm.
give us the money back.
Look,
Yeah,
the
but
whatever happened to the fans.
it was really sad to see like the fans being treated like that, to be very honest. I mean, especially with the older clubs. I mean, you honestly, they don't remain without their fans, to be very honest. For both Mohan Bagan and East Bengal, they are there because of their fans. So I like, it was really disappointing to see the way East Bengal fans were treated, because I mean, East Bengal wouldn't have been East Bengal without its fans, honestly.
Sandeep, really sad to see what happened with East Bengal fans in Kolkata yesterday, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with what Abhishek is saying, right? Because if you look at it, when football went down, Kolkata football stayed up purely because of these two teams. They propped up the whole thing. Mohammedan Sporting also, let's give credit where it's due. But it's mainly these two, the Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. Their fans are so involved. You're born into one club or the other, because you're married into an opposition club, and then you have, that kind of intense rivalry for that one derby day. So these are ethnically linked clubs, right? So then how can you, when such a big issue is happening, you first of all, you can't treat fans like this. They didn't ask for anything that is wrong. They just wanted to ensure that the team played in the Calcutta Football League and ISL in the future. I mean, whatever happens, the police are claiming there was violence instigated by the fans and vice versa. But it's not right. Like, this is a legacy club, and now we're hearing FSDL and they're appealing to the CM again, trying to solve the issue. Like, this is a yearly thing. Like, get your. I mean, the management has to take a for my this thing. Management has to take a lot of the blame for it. Like, they just have to. because it just seems like they're just going after. And we saw this before Sri Simmons. We saw it with Quest when they were there.
Correct.
First problems and they went against Quest. You saw interference into Khalid Jamil's thing. All
Ali
this
Jamil
kind
was
of
a
thing.
very poor way it was the entire saga was treated.
Yeah, I mean that it's just you have to take responsibility. You have to own up to this, and this club has to be run better. And these are clubs that have 100 years of industry. I mean
Correct.
history, right? 100 years of history. You have to hold them to higher regard, and they have to act with higher kind of responsibility and class. They just have to. The owner, if the management is not up to it, maybe the next level of management has to come in because they have to. What is going to happen? Like, how can you think? I still desperately wanted East Bengal and Mohan Bagan.
Yeah,
Some
exactly,
jugaad they
exactly.
did. Yeah, some jugaad they
Somehow
did
got
and
it.
managed to get both of them in. So now what happens if East Bengal doesn't play? I hope it doesn't come to that. I really like that team to be competing at the highest level or competing in the Calcutta Football League. They just have to play. They just have to have a team. They just have to play. Last year was very disappointing. The way they were forced to sort of put together. So you thought, oh, okay, this year they will have the time. Long time they
Exactly.
will get everything
And
done. And
now
it's
they're again like nowhere. It's a like literally you were right. Like it's literally like every year thing with East Bengal. It just keeps happening. This saga never ends. And yeah, it's I completely agree with Sandeep that the management has to own up to their faults also, because it can't happen with every single sponsor you get on board. Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, guys, before we wrap up, there are a few questions that our listeners have sent over the past few days. I just start popping up on the screen, and you can choose who wants to answer which one. The first one comes from Trevor Pereira, who wants to know: has the development of football stalled due to the pandemic, or is it just used as an excuse?
Can I
it's
say?
it's a start.
I
Yeah,
think
please.
I did an article also where the industry experts literally said that COVID is being used as an excuse, because Indian football has not been hit by COVID as much as expected.
All right.
So yeah, pretty an excuse.
Well,
So
there's
I have to say the only one thing that is hit is probably the youth development
Yeah,
because the kids have lost a year,
yeah,
probably two, maybe even three going look into the future. So that is one that has taken a big hit, especially those who are in the higher age groups, like 16, 17, 18. They won't get that experience. They won't be able to show, like, play those leagues and attract a club. So for young players, it has taken a toll. For really low development level, also, it's taken probably a hit. But we'll see that only, a few years ahead of it.
later down the line, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah.
well, and if you want to know more, Trevor, you can like go and check out Abresh Mina's copy on news18.com, right? That's the website.
Yeah, thank you for the plug.
Yep, there you go. The next question, this one comes from Roshan, who's a regular listener. He wants to know: do you expect more friendly matches for the Indian women's team as a preparation for the Asian Cup 2022? Abresh
Yeah,
Mina,
we probably would. We probably would. They'd have a camp, a national camp for sure, and we probably see friendlies, because that's the only thing that will happen before the Asian Cup. I don't think the IWL is happening properly.
well, a follow up to this, Football Wala wants to know if there is no IWL, how are they going to select the team? You're talking about the
Memol
camp, but where are the players coming from?
Memol has left. Honestly, Memol has left a pretty solid team overall. If you say, like, it's a quite a set team. So at the moment they can work with it, because they don't have any other matches to look forward to, or choose players from. Though, so I think they can probably stick with those players at the moment, and then work on them only for the at least for this Asian Cup.
Well, there's one more question on the Indian women's team. Who do you think will be the next head coach now that Memol Rocky has stepped down? Is there any clarity on who this will be? If I went through, if I remember the social media chatter a few days back, there were a few names that were thrown out. Bino George from Gokulam Kerala was
That's
one of
because
them.
he applied for the under 17 or under 20 job or something. Bino George, Priya PV as well, Gokulam
And
coach.
Anju,
Anju Thamba. Yeah, but it looks like they're going for a foreign coach.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll. My this thing would be they would
his
put
guess
Thomas
is
Denerby.
Denerby. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be sort of
double duty.
saddled with that. Yeah, saddled with double duty. So that's just what's going to happen. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
because a
I would.
tournament is coming, and it's generally like they go for a foreign coach before a tournament. So
Yeah.
Just a face saving thing that.
yeah,
I mean, if you look at it in one sense, right? you haven't played, you're not conducting league, you don't have a national team playing as often as possible. The national team coach is gone. Everything is in disarray. Give it to an Indian coach. No, why you must spend more money on a foreign coach?
White skin
Let's say,
complex, dude.
but sure, I mean, let's say just give it to say Priya or someone, Anju or somebody. Let them take a
Would
team
be a good
because
experience for them, right?
yeah, great experience. And Priya's already won the IWL,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's a
exactly.
nice person. Decent coach. I don't know too much about her coaching credential. When I spoke to her, she seemed like very nice person. So just give her the chance. She has
Decent
the
coach.
title under her name. So yeah.
Well, one more question before we wrap for the day. This one's about Igor Stimac. What do you make of it that Stimac got a 3 month extension first and then a 1 year extension? Now, this question is from Roshan.
So we knew he was going to get this extension that was more or less this 1 year. That was more or less done. Why they got a 3 month extension, I don't know. Maybe they were sort of, looking to see if there is anybody available in the timeline who's interested. Just, testing the water.
Maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's it because it seemed like a, unnecessary thing. Maybe they wanted to see if he would not finish third. That's also a
Okay.
Yeah, that
possibility.
that is very much possible. Maybe they wanted to
Yeah.
see if we'll make to the finish third, and then see if we finish third, we go for him.
So I
In
think
retrospect,
Stimac
it didn't
performs like
matter, right, where we
nobody comes
finished.
to shop.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, guys,
Okay.
that's all for the questions. Then Sandeep and our friend has a few comments to make. I'll just pop up. Sandeep, just say hi. Sandy, say my name. That's Ashwin Gopinath.
Ashwin Gopinath. Yes, yes.
There
You
you
say
go.
your name. I'll see you on the call later today. Yeah.
Absolutely. And guys, if you are a basketball fan, an NBA fan, you can always tune into Ball Bay podcast, your NBA podcast in an Indian accent. It's pretty
Yes.
fun. I tune into it quite often, especially
Yes.
when the NBA finals were going on. So that's
Yeah.
something very cool.
They are two very interesting people.
Absolutely.
Ashwin and Vineet, that is.
Right. Guys, that's all on this episode of Injury Time. Thanks a lot for joining in, Abresh, Meera, and Sandeep. And to you listeners and all the viewers who joined us on this live, we hope to bring you more of this. And apart from this, our interactions, our interviews, which Sandeep usually tends to do quite a bit. And there are a few.
I'm little backlogged. There are a couple of interviews I've done and kept. I'm really sorry. I'll put it
Yeah.
after the Olympics.
Absolutely. So, pardon us from tomorrow onwards, guys. Tune into Sony and enjoy the Olympics. 3 weeks of complete fun because we'll be busy covering it. So, there's no more injury time happening for 3 weeks at least.
Two
Thanks
weeks.
a lot. 3 weeks.
Oh,
23
3
3rd
weeks?
July to August 8th. Right.
It's 3 weeks. Come on,
It's 2 weeks, right?
That's three, no?
Oh,
It's up.
I
It's all
have
right.
to move.
It's
I have to move house also in between. Shit. I
well,
thought just
guys.
2 weeks. Fine.
Yeah,
Let's do
I
this.
won't keep
Yeah.
you much waiting much longer. Sandeep, you can go ahead and move your houses if you're planning to do it right now.
Not
Just
such.
bringing the show to an end. Thanks a lot for joining in. I hope you guys have a great time, and we'll see you pretty soon in the next episode of Injury Time. Until then, have a great time and enjoy the game.